Ooh, God of War's getting good reviews too, by the way. Like people praising it this time around. It changed, I should say.
They all the
All
same to me.
right. All right, should be good now.
Welcome to a special segment of the Film Planet podcast. I'm your co-host Jamal,
And I'm Nadal.
and today we're discussing our personal favorite Steven Spielberg movies. We only went 10 deep because I think, anything after 10 is excessive, and sometimes 5 is hard to decide. So, we leaving it like that.
Yeah.
So, we're doing this in anticipation of Ready Player One, which was Nadal's.
Most anticipated movie of this year or 2018.
So he's really looking forward
Yep.
to it. I'm looking forward to it. Maybe not as much as him, but
Yeah.
because I thought the book was okay. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people love the book. I thought it was okay. So we'll get into the list. Nadal will go first with his top 10, and from
Yep.
there we'll discuss and explain. So
Okay. I'm gonna do it from 10 up.
okay.
I think that's just more fun to do it as a countdown. So for to start off, this is a personal favorite in terms of like the reason why, because it's not the greatest thing in the world, but I have fond memories of watching it. Is The Terminal, starring Tom Hanks. Not Steven Spielberg's greatest work, but I remember growing up watching it with my dad, and it's a memory in mind that I've always enjoyed. Is a time when I probably wasn't that great into movies, but I didn't know I was watching a Spielberg movie. If that makes sense. It's just a movie I really enjoyed for what it was. And it's kind of not really. This isn't super deep or anything, but it kind of reminds me, like I always kind of imagine my dad in that scenario because he's a foreigner and stuff like that, and that always just kind of makes me chuckle. Like just imagine my dad in that kind of scenario. Um, and then the second one is a movie that I honestly didn't think I would like because it's all CG. Is The Adventures of Tintin.
That's your second or number 9.
That's number nine. Number nine.
Okay.
Number nine. Is 10 to 9, 10 and up. Is The Adventures of Tintin. It's just kind of like a little action adventure, heavily animated. They might have went to because Peter Jackson was I think almost basically co-directed it
Mhm.
in a way, and they kind of just had that freedom of the CG that it allows them, and they just kind of went after it with that, which I didn't mind, but it was just a fun little action adventure movie, um, with some lightheartedness and a lot of like like Simon Pegg's in it, Nick Frost, stuff like that. And then the number 8 is going to be Jurassic Park, and that one is really really fun. I think it's it made dinosaurs cool again, in my opinion, because before I didn't really dinosaurs were a thing that happened at school. You learned about them at school, and this made it more interesting, made them cool. I think everyone at one point wanted to own a T Rex, just to have one that not really like a baby T Rex just to have.
I was
Uh,
low key always in the Stegosaurus. I never been a big T-Rex dude.
and then another thing that movie kind of showed me was the power that Spielberg had is because the Velociraptor isn't actually a dinosaur. I can't remember what the actual name for that animal was,
Right.
but it wasn't cool enough, and he was basically like, no, this sounds better to call it this. And now basically people it's has been officially, almost not officially, but adopted as the actual name for that animal, and
Right.
it's not. So I thought that was just kind of like it shows the power that that man really has. Is he literally had the world refers those things as velociraptors, based off just a movie. And then the next one is E.T. This is a movie I didn't used to like at all. Actually, when I was watching it when I was younger, it was actually kind of boring. Didn't really enjoy it that much, and as I got older, started really sitting down. I really actually enjoyed what it was. Um, how a kid in that kind of situation, his father's, pretty much gone, and just doesn't have any. He's basically that kid that got picked on. And how it's kind of brings out that what a kid will do to befriend somebody or fill that void in a way, and filled that void with an alien. Next one is, and I'm not big on war movies, but Saving Private Ryan. Like I said, I think we've talked about it before in the podcast. Is I'm not war movies aren't really my cup of tea. I do enjoy them, but they're not something I'm gonna go out of my way to watch all the time. Uh, but this one thing I do like about movies is when they take a very brutal aspect. They don't necessarily glorify everything. They take it and they're like, no, this is what it really is like.
Right.
Like whenever they're first storming the beach and they have the camera and you just see body parts kind of floating and the ocean turns completely red and the camera's going in and out of the water. And as you're going through the beach, you see people limbs cut off and or blown off. Sorry, that was a an interesting aspect that, especially leading up to that, outside of like Jaws, maybe Spielberg never wasn't really known for that. Well, maybe Schindler. No, Schindler List was done after Saving Private Ryan, right?
Schindler's List came out.
Was it before or after?
It was that no, Saving Private Ryan was after Schindler.
After Schindler's List, yeah.
No, it was before.
It was before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it wasn't really anything he had done before.
Right.
He's been more of that magical storyteller at that point. And then second one is mine, or not second one. I'm sorry. This is 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Number 5 is Minority Report. Like Tom Hanks, or not Tom Hanks. I'm sorry, Tom Cruise. This is a fun little sci-fi. The way it plays around with, should you punish people just because they were thinking about doing a crime? And because if you haven't seen Minority Report, basically they're crime prevention officers. They can pull out. They have like these seers who will tell them if a crime's about to be committed, and they can basically go back in time and stop it from happening. And it raises a lot of questions. Should you be punished for something you haven't actually committed, but you were, per this specific timeline, you were going to do? And it's just an interesting little thing there. Plus, it combines a lot of like really cool. How do I explain it? The way it was shot, like it was a hyper realistic, very shiny version of the future.
Right.
You saw some dumps, but it wasn't dumps because people lived there. It's just society moved from here to here. They'd advanced instead of building on the
It
new.
wasn't dystopian like
Yeah.
most. It was like just the next step.
It was more
in
almost magic.
everyday world.
So basically, the society, instead of building on top of the old and new and renovating, they just broke it down and moved to the next place. And then number 4 is going to be Temple of Doom, and for Indiana Jones Temple of Doom, that was one I think you've probably heard me mention multiple times. Is Dr. Jones. I say it all the time, just randomly. But it's Indiana Jones. It's basically, like I said, I'm a big Uncharted fan, and to this day, I mean, I think Uncharted is heavily based off what Indiana Jones built. Is just this very charismatic character that is just trying to simply save history and things like that. And he just happens to be really good with a gun and a whip. It's just a very fun little adventure movie to watch. Following that up is The Last Crusade. That one is the same thing with Indiana Jones. It was kind of basically a father son tale, really. At the end of the day, I think that's more what he was trying to tell. Was just it was more father son, and how they're similar and how they're not, but how they still like how it kind of just give you a glimpse as to who Indy is and why maybe he was a little bit more of this against the world kind of guy. Like he makes his own rules is because his father was heavily rule setted, but he still made sure that he was well educated and and was just versed in everything as a kid. He's very structured as a child, and as an older man, he's like, yeah, he has a job, but who he really is not a structured person.
Right.
Is in Indy. And then Raiders of the Lost Ark is the first Indy movie. That one, like I'm sure everyone knows the most iconic thing: the ball rolling and him running away with replacing the little gold statue with the bag of sand. The little floor traps, things movies still do now. Like it's still do now. I mean, video games have copied it. There's multiple books you can read that they copy. I mean, almost Star Wars has done it too, haven't they? Like little traps, or not Star Wars. I'm sorry.
Yeah, bruh. Star Wars.
Not Star Wars. It was like a Family Guy episode where they crossed over Star Wars. They made fun of it with Indiana Jones and all that.
Yeah, but you can't say that when Star Wars came out 77.
Well, no,
they did the trapdoor before.
I was confusing it with the cartoon version when they did that Family Guy special. And then the last one, I mean, really my all-time favorite Spielberg movie is The Goonies. That right there is, I think at some point every kid in America at least, I can't really speak for other countries, obviously, but every kid at some point had a group of friends in the neighborhood where they'd always go around and have fun, play basketball, run around the neighborhood, kind of make their own little imaginary adventure in their neighborhood. And the Goonies was basically that exact thing, but just a group of kids who grew up together, didn't want to leave this neighborhood. It was being sold out because, just the rent became too high for the parents. And I don't they never really get into details about that. They're just trying to save the neighborhood. And they find out about a pirate treasure in their dad's basement, one of the dad's basements, and from there they just go on an adventure and eventually find, gold, jewels. It has a happy ending to it. Just a fun little kind of coming of age thing and what kids will do to, stay friends for as long as they can. So that's the Goonies is right there. That's my number one Spielberg movie of all time.
All right. That was Nadal's list. We'll discuss it in a minute. And my list goes at number 9. I have The War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise. Yeah. It's a remake.
Number 10, right?
It's a remake. Huh?
You said number 9.
Yeah, because I'm saying number 9 because mine is tied with something else. I know what I'm talking about.
I'm sorry.
So, War of the Worlds is a remake. I just like that story, and I think Spielberg modernized it where I could enjoy it. Because it came back. It was a radio show. Then they did a black and white movie. Then Spielberg remade it. And Tom Cruise, him running. That's when he was in his running prime. So yeah, War of the Worlds. And the reason I didn't do a 10 because it's tied with another movie that I recently saw called The Post. I thought it was more of Spielberg's more cerebral, so to speak, cerebral movies. Like it was good. It was low key good, but it was very subtle. Spielberg usually goes for the shebang in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And this one was kind of more subtle, very consistent throughout. And it was just, to me, it was one of his best works recently in today's time. To me, it was his best work in today's time, sans Ready Player One, because I haven't saw it yet. So that's number 9. Number 8 is Minority Report. To elaborate on Nadal said he was like, putting people in jail, but I think the more important aspect is predestination versus free will. And I think the movie did that in a very blockbuster way. And once again, another Tom Cruise. For a while, they was like having they was back and forth with the chemistry. So yeah, that was Minority Report. Number 8 is Temple of Doom. Indiana Jones, I'm gonna say this. Indiana Jones, the character is like dope to me, like super dope. But to me, the movies haven't aged that well. Not that they're bad, but to me, a lot of Spielberg movies, they kind of age well. You can still watch them today, and you're not. But Temple of Doom, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of boring in parts to me. The Indiana Jones movie, but just for childhood nostalgia, yeah, that's my number 8. Number 7, well, that's my number. I'm on number 6 because I tied time. My number 6 is artificial intelligence. Stanley Kubrick is probably my second favorite director after Christopher Nolan, and he was supposed to do this movie. And Spielberg picked up the slack. I wanted to see Kubrick do it, but to have the greatest director of all time, I know people say arguably, but it's not arguably. He's the greatest director of all time. To have the greatest director of all time step in and do it, I just thought that was pretty cool. Some of the cinematography, special effects is some of the best in a Spielberg movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that's saying a lot. So, yeah, artificial intelligence. Number 5, I have Jaws. As a kid, I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. I used to go to the swimming pool, have my hand like this, playing the theme music in my head. It used to hum in my head. It's so catchy. It scared a lot of people. If you go back and look, people were actually scared to get in the water because of this movie. To me, Spielberg, a lot of people don't see it like this. Now they look at it as kind of a thriller movie. but in my opinion, Spielberg made the first blockbuster horror movie.
Yeah.
Like that
Oh,
really
yeah.
was a hit. Like
It put the fear, like, it really made you fear the ocean,
yeah,
especially if you were a little kid too watching it.
yeah. But I mean,
Um,
even adults feared it.
oh, yeah.
And so it was yeah. People was it. I mean, a shark is a ocean water
Yeah.
creature, and people were scared to get in lakes and ponds because of this
Yeah.
movie. So
Well, I
the
remember.
impact it had is
Oh,
crazy.
yeah. Like, it still has, like, viewing parties. We went to a Comic-Con, and they has, like, a little ocean. It's obviously, caved off or anything like that, but basically, they have a floating thing, and they watch Jaws while floating in the water.
Yep.
So, it's a cool little cultural phenomenon that movie is still going now.
Number 4 is E.T. It was arguably like, along with Star Wars: A New Hope, my favorite movie as a kid. I don't like it as much as an adult. And
Mhm.
people say, "Oh, it's just because you're an adult." Nah, because I still enjoy the hell out of The Sandlot, and that's a coming of age story as well.
Yeah.
It just didn't age as well to me. Like the movie, kind of like the same way I feel about Indiana Jones. But I mean, his logo, his Amblin Entertainment logo is made off that. That's probably the most iconic shot ever in a movie, probably next to Gone with the Wind, where he's flipping
Yep.
her down.
Mhm.
Those two are probably the most iconic shots in cinematic history. So, yeah, I mean, what can you say about E.T.? I think that's the movie that probably cemented his legacy as
Yeah.
the great, or the all-time
Yeah.
great. Number 3, I have Catch Me If You Can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Little crime drama in there.
Yeah. That's when that's when I got on the DiCaprio wave. Like, man, this kid got talent. And I was a kid, and like I was young then. I was a kid. But I knew right then, like, DiCaprio's cold. And to see Tom Hanks in that role too,
Yeah.
it was just like a future great actor and an already legacy actor with the
Mhm.
best director ever just doing, and it was nonstop. That's what I like.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was fast paced, straight to the point. The movie kept going and flowed, and it was. Spielberg's movies have a lot of classic grand feel,
Mhm.
but this movie felt hip. Like it felt hip. It
Yeah.
felt cool. Like yeah, that movie felt cool. So yeah, that's my number 3.
Yep.
My number 2 is I'm losing my head. Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Okay.
Um Interesting fact about this movie. It came out the same year as Star Wars, so it kind of got buried by its
Yeah.
popularity. But Close Encounters to me is one of Spielberg's, not only my favorite, but to me is one of his best films, because we always saw aliens to this point as the invaders,
Yeah.
the villain, these evil creatures. And Spielberg kind of showed you a different aspect, like maybe they're just coming to discover, maybe they're trying to
Yep.
give us a gift, maybe they're trying to give a gift to humanity, and to see it through a child's eyes, the wonder, the awe, the fear, and the way he kind of played into it, a movie that did kind of bit off of this, but did it in a more villainous way, is Signs by Shyamalan.
Yeah.
He did a lot. He took a lot of similar things, beats
Yeah.
from Spielberg in that movie, and made it pop.
Yeah.
And my number 1 favorite Spielberg movie is, yes, the Jurassic Park.
Yep.
Not only is my number 1 Spielberg movie as far as favorite, it's like in my top 5 favorite movies of all time. Spielberg made dinosaurs super cool.
Mhm.
I mean, Nadal said dinosaurs never stop being cool. Kids always, now they might not be cool now, but when I
Yeah.
was, dinosaurs never was not cool. But Spielberg, to bring dinosaurs to life, he took it to a new level. Like
Yeah.
after that, everybody, it's crazy because after that, I think everybody wanted to look for. I used to play outside thinking
Yeah.
I'm gonna find dinosaur fossils. It's like it took Indiana Jones, the archaeologist concept, and it like brought it to my generation.
Dialed it up, and
And yeah, so
that's why I was saying it kind of brought it out of the classroom.
yeah, the action, the adventure. I mean, Jurassic Park.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
So that's our list, and we'll kind of discuss each other's.
Yeah.
And you can go first.
It's our top favorite list for him. Um, and I kind of figured why I didn't know Jurassic Park be number one on your list there, but I knew it was one of your favorite of all time. I did know that. Um, Minority Report, the same thing. I agree with what you said. On there, to kind of elaborate what I said, but yeah, it's. I honestly don't see anything wrong with your list. Well, not that there is anything wrong. Could be, but it's Spielberg. I think is is not only ushering in new generations of people into movies and things like that, but he's also like the man has transcended time. If that makes any sense. Like he always seems to be able to be in connection with every single generation.
He's like a Michael Jackson
Yeah.
figure, but with cinema.
Like he's able to speak to every generation no matter what. It almost like Ready Player One is obviously speaking to a very different generation while still keeping hints of an older generation and using an older generation to achieve that goal. So mixing the '80s with obviously VR and video games and things like that. I think that's ultimately. This list was kind of just highlighting that the man's movies they last. They have a lasting impact for a lot of different people.
Show it. Raise my hand. Can I come in?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Here's the problem with the Dolls list, everybody. The Goonies is not a Steven Spielberg movie.
He directed it though.
No, he didn't.
I swore he directed it.
He called it. Nadal called a big L on this one. The Goonies is not a Steven Spielberg film.
I could have swore he directed it.
He produced it.
He produced it. That's what it is.
It was directed by Richard Donner, who did the Lethal Weapon movie.
That's my bad. I could have swore he directed it though.
And 3 Indiana Jones movies, dog.
I like Indiana Jones.
3.
One of my favorite games of all time is Uncharted. That's to me it's the video game version of Indiana
You
Jones.
don't have any other Spielberg movie. Come on, man. All 3 Indiana Jones.
I like Indiana Jones.
That's like saying your favorite rapper is Tupac, Biggie, and Jay-Z. But that's his list, man. That's his list. I'm just saying. I thought he could have been a little more creative, but if that's his favorite movies, that's his favorite movies. But The Goonies, come on, man.
I could have swore he directed it. I honestly thought he directed it. I really did. I've always just, in my mind, he's always been the guy who directed that movie. That's my bad. That's my bad.
It's your number one.
That's what I'm saying. I just assumed that he directed it.
So what would be your number one since it's not The Goonies?
If it's not The Goonies, then it would be Raiders of the Lost Ark.
So what would be your number 10?
Number 10.
What would fill in that number 10 spot?
Catch Me If You Can. Because I honestly was going to put that in, but I didn't.
Bruh, he didn't even think about Catch Me If You Can because people sleep on that movie mad.
I like Catch Me If You Can. I like crime dramas. You know that.
Yeah, but people sleep on that movie mad. He probably didn't even think of it. He said he's going to put it on his list. He didn't think about Catch Me If You Can because a lot of people don't. A lot of people sleep on that. A lot of people sleep on Catch Me If You Can.
I was definitely considering putting it on the list. I just didn't. I promise you that. Yeah, no, I'll take that L on the Goonies for sure.
Woo, that's an L, bro.
And then let's see. Really, not much else. Anything else?
I
know. Well, no, go ahead.
I like this list, but picking your favorite Spielberg movie is kind of like you really can't go wrong except with Terminal.
Terminal is more of a childhood memory than
I see what you're saying, but yeah, that's about it. We'll be discussing Ready Player One soon. Mm-hmm. Speaking of Spielberg, I might want to get back to this down the road because what's interesting, I think it would have been more interesting if we said Spielberg's best movies because that's a difficult list.
Oh yeah, that might not even be like an individual list. That might be like me and you sit down and make one list of it. You wouldn't want to do an individual list for that?
I mean, what do you think Spielberg's best movie out the top of your head?
I honestly couldn't even sit there and tell you.
I think it's between E.T. or Schindler's List. I think those two
Yeah.
might be his best movie. What he tries to convey in those movies and the magic.
Yeah.
But to have that list, so
Yeah.
yeah. But that's our list.
And then one more thing, Sunday's episode will be a little bit later for Ready Player One's review because we'll be watching the movie around 12. And obviously it has almost like 2 hours, 2.5 hours almost runtime. So obviously that podcast will be later on in the day, but it will go up Sunday for sure. No doubt about that. Anything else with that?
Nope. That's it.
All right, outro.
This has been the Film Planet Podcast. Jamal, peace out. See you Sunday.
See ya.